Worsonburg is better, but you do have new irrigation lines and supplemental to the new shrubbery that's there. So there's two different lines. Before, the shrubs and the plants and the trees were on the same line. So right now, with the irrigation fit, they've separated the lines from the shrubs and the trees. So you are gonna see a little bit of an increase, especially with the 5 gallons, or I'm sorry, I think they did 3 gallons. They're smaller shrubs, so when you first plant them, they are gonna require more water. And then once it starts to taper off as they get older, you won't need to supply more water to that area. So you are gonna see an increase and then it will start decreasing. In that specific area that we did on Schaumburg, there has been a decrease in that area, minimal, but it definitely has been a decrease in that area. And then you will see it on Durrell and then the other areas as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the same question in that regard, because that's something we talked about before the 5-year irrigation plan. Last year, when we put the budget into it, one of the recommendations that I brought up was to reduce a lot of greens in the area. When you look at, they are overgrown. So when you have that many green right next to each other, they keep growing, it consumes a lot more water.
Right.
So now we put in a much bigger rocks, and they look great, especially in partial Schaumburg. I really think that we still have opportunity to reduce some of the shrub around the neighborhood and those streets to reduce the water consumption.
And I do believe with the board's last decision, when they did decide to accelerate, there are certain areas where they are not putting that greenery. It's just gonna be rock, if I'm not mistaken. Was it that?
Correct, and they also, like you said, Felicia, they decreased the size of the plants as well. So that'll also kind of cut down on the water usage.
Yeah, but I walk frequently, and especially Schaumburg, still some area, you just have all those overgrown greens, and they are just right next to each other. So we're gonna spend more money on with the landscaping. We're gonna spend more money on water consumption. I still think that we have opportunity to reduce. And I really would like to recommend the board, maybe that people start either driving around or walk around and take pictures and look at where all those opportunities exist. Well, I'll be happy to do it too, because I do a lot, I walk around the neighborhood a lot.
I have a question about that actually. When somebody sees a leak in the neighborhood, again, we know the irrigation repairs, but they shouldn't be leaking in the meantime. A landscaper should be able to like put a stop over it so it's not leaking into the street or overwatering or whatever. What is the best way for someone to report that? We don't have the app anymore. What is the most streamlined way for someone to say, hey, I noticed this is draining out into the street? Because even though it's broken, we know that a landscaper should be able to put a stop on the end of the pipe or something, just to keep it from wasting water, because until they can get around to fixing it to go where it probably needs to go.
So typically, you can always contact Courtesy Patrol. Courtesy Patrol will go out there and they will try to stop the leak as well as flag it for the landscaper so that when the landscapers are here at 6 o'clock in the morning, they can fix the area. But typically, Courtesy Patrol will try to stop it if they can. I think that they, in their post orders, I think it goes up to like stage 3 or something like that, where Courtesy Patrol is actually able to put a coupler on it, stop it for that moment. And then, like I said, they notify Courtesy Patrol in their workflow once they create that report.
Does Courtesy Patrol report directly to you to tell the landscapers to correct?
So in their workflow, when they submit their report, when they hit send, there's a workflow of who it goes to. So it automatically notifies the landscaper, the site manager, the irrigation tech, and we are on that workflow as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so they notify them.
So don't take pictures anymore, because we walk every morning now, so we see that they pop.
So you can send this picture
Sure.
to that info
Okay.
email, you can send them to her directly,
Okay.
either one, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't,
Either you
okay.
can contact Courtesy Patrol if you don't have the capability of snapping a picture, some people have older phones and sometimes they
Okay.
just wanna call us, they can call us as well, or they can send us an email at that info email.
So we should email or call Courtesy, just because we're noticing.
So I would, if you're gonna, if you're unable to take a picture, then I would say call Courtesy Patrol because they're able to take a picture and send that report in that workflow.
Okay,
If you are able to take a picture, then go ahead and email us at that info@providencelbhoa.com.
Mhm.
We get, she gets it, and then we disseminate that out to
Get it.
the landscapers.
okay, because
Yeah.
again, we're watching close too, places we know that have been replaced. As
Yeah.
you, as you know, our question was like, why are we popping?
Yeah.
We're just replacing, and this is a lot of money, so that is one I'm watching too.
Well, and I noticed between February,
It went up.
it did, it went up, and not only did it go up, I don't know what you want to call it, the range of the budget was larger, and it's still it not only went over the budget, but exceeded the previous month. So I don't know if I'm making sense, the
No,
range was
yeah, it makes
larger.
Well, but that's,
And it's still.
but if you recall.
Yeah.
August, September, it's in the 70,000 range. Yeah. I remember that's what the water consumption was.
Yeah.
That's, this
And those are the
is,
summer months.
because in summer months, there's so much water. I have to, honest to say though, I have, since I walked, it's been 3 years now, I have seen a huge reduction of the leakage
Mhm,
since last year.
mhm.
You know, walking, because I normally go through Schaumburg and then go over to Farm, which that's where Huckleberry Park, back to Promenade, and then to, Lynn Harbor Park. And I have seen a huge reduction in regard to leakage
Right.
for the water, so that's a good thing. But I still, again, I still see a huge plant right next to each other.
Right.
Those are huge opportunity for us, like I said, landscaping costs as well as the water consumption.
Yeah, and I think too, wasn't it February, at Huckleberry Park with the leak?
Yes, with the flooding of the dog park.
So
Oh, okay.
you have that as a variant as well. So
That
it's
was
not just
exactly.
it's not just landscaping, there are other contributing factors where you might see a raise, in the water. So don't just contribute it all to just landscape.
And they did a good job with Huckleberry Park. You can tell all the plants are very far away.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of landscaping in Huckleberry Park. And I just think a lot of roads are just huge. So you walk by, it's like, this is just so much.
It's
money you can
oversaturated. It's definitely especially with the rosemary there too, but
take.
like I said,
Yes,
you're gonna start seeing a difference, especially with, like we said, some of the areas not being planted the way that they are. And some of those, like I said, some of those areas are not gonna have plants at all. It's
Yeah.
just gonna be rock. So you'll definitely start seeing the price savings. Like I said, I just think it's gonna be a little bit later more than sooner, especially with.
I would still recommend someone to walk through where we replace the
Oh, yeah,
irrigation
absolutely.
system to see, take picture, look at opportunity in those areas. Not just the places that we are going to replace, but already replaced, there's still opportunity to reduce
Yeah.
water and also landscaping costs.
We'll say though, it is a pretty community. I mean, when we're walking up the promenade and up, that's showing the park right at the top there is Schaumburg, when you go up. I mean, it is very pretty. I can see why,
Yeah.
people like it there. It's just, yeah, it's nice. A lot of work.
I have a couple other questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Things that like caught my eye going down the hall. The things that didn't just go over budget, they were way over budget. Can you explain the lien and collection costs?
So are you in February financial?
Oh. Yeah, I was looking at that. That was the most recent one. I don't know what that, like, I mean, I know what lien and collection was. What happened with the budget on that?
There was an explanation on the variance report, but it wasn't enough to really,
Yeah, I mean,
Say.
some things go over budget. That's
It was-
fine. I'm just.
it was a big
looking at
one.
things that are way over budget.
it was bigger.
Okay, so are you on?
Page,
I'm on Mary. I don't say in the big document.
It's the one on the community mailings, right?
Is it the 30,910? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, the budget's been zero, I don't know why that is, but I can make my assumption, that's why I see why, and then the month before, it even went way over. And in January, I don't know how that ended, but that was one little $90, that didn't alarm me, but now we're in February, March.
Well, so for lien and collections, you can't budget. You can't budget for that number. You never know how many homeowners are not gonna pay. So you don't put a number into lien and collections. That's why it's a zero. So with lien and collection, $30,910 are what has been sent out to those collection agencies. It could be your prior past debt that's due from homeowners, which are still in the collection process, as well as reminder statement fees that are being sent out, 60-day notices that are sent out. That's an incumbent of that collection notice. It doesn't necessarily mean that they've started, well, it means that they started the collection process, but their account may not be in collections at that particular point.
It's mostly mailing and trying to get people.
Correct. So
Okay.
you get your 60-day notices, which are certified mail, as well as the reminder statement fees of $25, and then whatever their past due assessments are, including accounts that are currently in collection.
Okay, so maybe just a minor note for budgeting next year, just kind of try to remember that people don't pay and we need to account
Exactly.
for that.
And so
make
just
sure we have
remember
that.
too, in your budget, you have a line or an allowance for that debt. That's where that number comes from.
Oh, okay.
So what, just out of curiosity, how many outstanding that on a monthly basis? Roughly, I don't know, but maybe you wanna do some research.
I can do some research just to see if there's like historical data, if there's like a trend.
Yeah,
But obviously, with the last year, it's gonna be a little bit higher
Oh,
just because of yeah, exactly. But realistically, you do have a high prepaid balance where homeowners are just prepaying their assessment.
okay,
But then you do have those homeowners that are struggling for whatever that reason may be. And then some homeowners that are not paying attention to the statements that are being sent out to them. Some homeowners that are investors either have a property management company looking over it, or the bills are being sent to the property versus an offsite address because the homeowner hasn't updated their address. They've done it with one entity but not the other. I mean, there's just so many different contributing factors as to why people don't make their payments on time until it actually gets to the collection company. They did receive the lien, and then it's like, oh, I have something that I need to pay. And then they come to the board and say, well, can you waive these fees because of X, Y, Z? And sometimes the board is like, no, because then everybody has to pay for you not contributing when you were supposed to contribute on a timely manner.
So could we, just for next year's budgeting, could we get like an average number? I know 2026 is your up, just gonna be the years ahead of you, so an average of how many,
Delinquent accounts.
people, just so that we can account for that in the
Okay.
budget and it doesn't throw us way off.
but the 30,000 still, how much does so at what point of time you send the service to the collection agency?
So typically, the homeowner has received a reminder statement fee. So I'm gonna just go over the process. When a homeowner becomes 60 days late,
Okay,
they'll receive the reminder statement fee.
okay,
Then at about the 70, 75-day mark, they'll receive the 60, I'm sorry, no. After 30 days, they've received the reminder statement fee. 60 days, they receive the 60-day notice pre-lien, starting that collection process, which is a certified mail that gets sent out to them when a homeowner can request a payment plan or just let the board know what's happening. After they've received both of those fees, the $25 reminder statement, the $95 a 60-day pre-lien and a quarter behind is when they go to collections.
Okay.
So around, like I said, like probably the 70 to 75 day mark of their account being delinquent is
Yeah.
when it then gets turned over to the collection agency for them to take over the account at that point.
I like to see a month breakdown average, just for
Okay,
budgeting purposes for 2022. So we don't have a zero line budget and then it blows it out of the water. Gotta be collected. Can you tell me about, the licenses, licenses fees and permits line and community management fees? So the only last two things that were
okay.
way over budget.
So the license fees and permits, those are for subscriptions. It could be for, the business license of the association. It's a catch-all for any license fees or permits for the association. So you have Adobe, you have Shopify, you have Canva, you have, again, the business license of the association.
Does it go over budget because that's when, sometimes subscription is monthly, sometimes quarterly. sometimes it's
Correct.
yearly.
Correct.
So I was gonna ask, like, is that standard though, like, shouldn't our budget reflect that the standard regular payment, not fluctuate so much?
Well, sometimes it's dependent because I know last year, some of these line items were going to different budgets or different GLs. And so now that they're all into one specific GL, it may be a little bit higher. But moving forward for next year, I plan to, like, I've already have like a spreadsheet of what I want to be included in that. And then the narrative to you all will show you specifically what those subscriptions are so that you're able to tie it into.
Okay, and then community management fee, that's double.
So it didn't go. So what happened was the board was in negotiations at the time as far as the contract that they were going to sign. And so finally, when they came to those terms of what that number was, it had to be backfilled into February and March. So it's not necessarily doubled. It just shows the amounts being, because it's income. So it's when they've received it. So that's all it is, but it's a breakdown. And I believe the association is paying way lower in management fees than it was before based off of the negotiations that the board had with CCMC.
That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome, absolutely.
Any other questions?
And just so you know as well too, this next meeting notice is gonna be a postcard. It should drop today. So that's gonna be a price savings as well in your community mailings, because we're not doing it via the post or anything like that. Since the board has
So that
suspended
already
that.
decided.
Yes, ma'am, they did. Mhm.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
So the board decided to suspend the post. And so this last meeting notice, which should hit mailboxes today, is a postcard. So that's going to be a savings under community mailing since we're no longer utilizing the post for such notices outside of everything else that we utilize it for.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's all we recommended, remember, one of the items. So, autumn comment period.
Just, I know this is your meeting, but I did want to let you guys know, and maybe this could come as a recommendation from the finance committee, but I have it on the board's agenda to re-amortize the loan since we have put that surplus of $390,000 towards the loan. Pursuant to the promissory note for the Huckleberry Park loan, the association is able to re-amortize one time a year without there being a charge. If they decided to do it multiple times, I believe it would be like $100. But since you guys have just now made that payment, it's going to be management's recommendation, and I would like your guys' support to suggest that they do re-amortize so that they can see where they are financially and what those new payments are going to look like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I got. Sorry.
Any other question, open comment?
Just one thing on today's minutes before and I just went off of it, but I think it says March 2020.
Yeah, I'm gonna change that
Yeah.
for, on the agenda, yeah.
We can
I'll
change
ensure that it's corrected when I do your minutes.
Okay,
And I'll have those to you guys by the end of today.
any, I can't, I can't.
I'll have your minutes to you by the end of today.
That's fine. We're in open, right? So any
Mhm.
update,
Yep.
any comments on what they're doing? They're still looking at the community patrol?
So the board did finalize, their contract with Marksman, so they are gonna be making a relationship change with Courtesy Patrol. They are to start July 1.
July 1st.
July 1. So already revamping post orders, ensuring that the transition between each company is streamlined so that there isn't any problems. Jody is heading that up, so we're excited.
Okay, the same deal, they're gonna do it 24/7, you know, make any of that change?
Nope, so none of that'll be
Yeah.
changing. The staff wise will be changing instead of having as many people with the account supervisor. We're gonna have less people with still a account supervisor kind of at the helm. And so Marksman did come in as one of the lowest bids, if not the lowest bid. So the community will be saving a substantial amount of money.
And you know that building?
300-ish.
What? That was completely third.
Give me 1 second.
Roughly,
Yeah,
I think that they are over 800,000.
yeah.
Close to, yeah.
Yeah, so we are close to third. And I assume we did homework and they're good.
Yeah, I know that there are a couple other large scale communities that utilize them, and they, the board with doing their due diligence reached out to them just to kind of see if there is any issues that they were experiencing, and they came very highly recommended from I think there's either 2 or 3 master plan communities that they're currently on right now.
I'm just glad we, have talked to people from the United Summerlin and they've done away with the securities and they have had a terrible amount of theft problems and vandalism. So I'm really glad that we didn't do away with it.
That's how much it is.
Yeah, so it's a savings of $212,463.
One question, there's construction going on, kind of behind my house actually, which they are building that new community with Olympia. There's one time has a huge water leakage. I just want to know, where do they draw those water from? How do we make sure that it's not part of Providence?
So they typically have those big water tanks, and they've had them. I know that there's one at the end of Centennial Parkway. They have, it's like Bighorn something, but they have hose and trucks and stuff like that, and they fill it, and then they go out to the construction site.
Okay,
But
so
there's nothing behind there on Foley or Rhyme Sheets or something. I know they're changing the name. Yeah, but there's nothing behind there that is not a fire hydrant, nothing. There's nothing back there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been actually going on for a long time, and we still need to be insured, because I think we did a 5 feet.
A 5 feet setback clearance. Yep.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that, there is contract information
Yeah.
with them, so there is no cost associated with Providence, because we do have 5 feet.
Right.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
in that area, that we need to make sure is safe for us.
Yeah.
Construction.
They haven't come with anything as of yet, but whatever, contracts or agreements or anything like that will definitely go before the board before any solidification of any contract.
They're still putting in the roads, but they still have to buy lots.
Mhm.
And that's part of what that mess is up behind you guys.
Well, that's gonna be walkway,
Like the trail, the
trail,
walk trail.
biking trail, it's
Mhm.
gonna be an article walk area for people to exercise, so it's gonna be great.
Mhm.
And the road is behind, then they build a house, and then the road is,
Does Franklin have a pedestrian gate back there? No, huh?
no, we don't. Then that's something, I guess, if we wanna do it, that each of the community will have to,
Have access to go through that, yeah.
will have to request the cost associated with it.
Right, to open it up, yeah.
And I think that's almost every community.
Well, everybody that backs up there, they would probably want that
Right,
at some
right,
particular point. Yeah.
Now, would that be Providence or would that be Sky Canyon?
No,
That's not
gonna be,
even Sky Canyon.
that's gonna be something
Olympia
else.
Company.
Oly-
They have a
yeah.
different name for it.
yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be an extension of Sky Canyon, it could be.
Yeah.
They didn't say, oh, they
It's
didn't?
not, because I went to QB.
Oh, okay,
I went to QB when it was proposed.
Oh, okay.
When the BOM came over, that's why I was talking about those, like, I wanted to cover, doesn't incur
right,
the cost of, they're gonna put a lot of
Strawberry
greenery
back
and rock
there, yeah.
area. And since it is our property behind our wall, the last house,
mhm,
I just wanna make sure that we have some kind of contact with
protection,
them.
yeah,
They make
absolutely,
everything, and then, we just need to get involved. So,
yeah,
Okay. So
Yeah.
Sky Canyon stopping is Olympia is first.
Olympia, the new company, they the one who, the same company bought the land of Sky Canyon. I think they sold a lot of them out. Now they bought that land with it from the BOM, and then they started, that 1,700 homes. That is going to build.
Not necessarily master plan community that.
I mean, 1,700,
Yeah.
I guess,
Kinda big.
yeah, it is.
yeah,
But
it's kinda big, yeah,
it's very
for
well.
17, and it's, with Olympia, that's all they do is master plan community, they don't do portfolio, yeah.
They have a name for it, I just can't remember what they call
Holy
it.
moly.
So, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of homes.
On top of
And I think
it.
Schaumburg is gonna be very busy. I know people is already complaining about traffic
Yeah.
on Schaumburg.
Oh, it's terrible.
This quarter.
Traffic here is terrible and the racing and that's, I wish the police could do, because you live up off for close to ice, I think, but Durrell and, I mean, it's terrible. It's, I mean,
Well, people still treat, Durrell and Schaumburg like they're the towns, they kind of are, but with more development and more people coming out,
Mhm.
you just can't drive that way. You're not on the dirt road out in the middle of nowhere
No.
anymore. It's a community and,
no,
everything else.
and they're doing the burnouts.
Yeah, oh, I was gonna say, it's just a matter of time before some of our simple stop signs will need to be stopped.
Well,
Lights,
Yeah,
yeah.
those are up on Durrell and Schaumburg.
Yes.
On the far west side of Durrell and Schaumburg, like, there's really not a chance that they gotta put.
Something,
lights
yeah.
there because People just.
We're Durrell and Egan Crest.
Crazy, because they're kids, they're kids.
It's terrible.
Mhm.
We hear the horns and screeching and all that, because we're Egan Crest and Durrell. Now, that was a question I was gonna ask. I talked to Ferrari's 11, yeah.
Ferrari.
And that's why we got the blinkers
Mhm.
on that corner.
Mhm.
Now, can I still contact them? Because we had talked to a gentleman that was out measuring and said.
They
there
were
was gonna be
surveying,
a light
yep,
there,
they were surveying, I remember, that was last
But then
2
it's
years.
like, there's so many coming up all over. I know they're very busy. But can I still,
Yeah.
can I still contact Ferrari's office?
Squeaky wheel gets the grease,
Okay,
you
I'll
know,
CC you guys.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
Because the blinkers have done absolutely zero. And now they are doing the burnouts. And all I can, just start to get to sleep and I'll use the burnouts done.
yeah.
So, all right.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, not for me.
No,
I gave you my thing.
Me too, I won't be in time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's Memorial Day. Can we do it the week before?
Sure.
The 24th, I can do that. Okay, Memorial Day on the 31st. If I could do the 24th, that would be nice.
24, I'm open right now.
I'm good with the 24th.
Me too. So 9 on the 24th.
I think 2 is checking.
Yep, I am okay with 24,
Okay,
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
The next meeting is gonna be May 24 on Monday at 9 o'clock. Meeting adjourned. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, ladies.